Chapter 57. Oli stood in the doorway of Inej's cabin, Tuck at his heels. He wasn't sure why he had come, except that it was one of the few buildings surrounding Watchful which hadn't been burned down to mere cinders. It had been looted, though. Every pelt or scrap of meat was gone from the lawn outside, and inside the place had been clearly ransacked. All that remained was the Velk's bed and chair, and even the chair had been toppled so someone could remove the rug beneath it. The Yelmes would likely have just torched the place, so Oli figured it had probably been Leone's soldiers that had stripped it bare. He couldn't blame them. They prepared for a snow-laden journey and would need all the supplies they could muster. And Oli would be going with them. For the first time in his life, he would travel further than Riona, the small fishing town on Lake Folin. And he would do it in the company of a royal caravan. It wasn't something they had ever thought possible. He had long since settled on the fact that one day he would die in the wood, a Strayazar to the end. He stepped over to the threshold of the cabin and into the dark. This was the last place he had been before Tal had found him and everything had changed. He wished Inej had never opened that door, but what was done was done. The door had opened. He had met with Leone, had taken her to the clearing, had watched his mother die, and had become something else. Oli stepped over to one of the windows and opened the shutter, letting light pour in and illuminate the dust in the air. Beyond the window, Oli could see the wood and the distant Nevada mountains beyond. Velik lay over there, past those mountains. It occurred to Oli that Inej would have looked out toward the horizon every day, always facing his home. Was that why he took Layla home? Oli stirred, sensing something unfamiliar at the edge of his new senses. Tuck barked and ran outside, and Oli was close behind.
You! I'll bloody kill you.
Coming up the hill toward the cabin was a one-eyed Strayazar, furious and red-faced.
Lars, what are you doing here? You little arse, I'm coming to end your miserable existence.
Lars pulled his knife free, though he was still half a bowshot away. The knife and the rage didn't bother Oli. This was about as Lars could get. Except now, Oli could see Lars on another and deeper level. He could see the man's threads, and they weren't like everyone else's. He had that familiar white bunch in his center, but around the edges was a dim green, which made Oli think of forest dew and rich soil. Huh? Oli muttered. Oli's eye, the one that wasn't black on white, that had turned green when he'd woken in the clearing. A green eerily similar to the threads running through Lars. The old Strayazar came closer now, and he clearly wasn't bluffing about killing Oli. With a roll of his shoulders, Oli brought out his own knife. Oi, he called to Lars. I'd not come any closer unless you mean what you say.
They all died because of you and your dirtbag father.
Lars picked up his pace, flipping his knife so the point was down.
And you went and you did it anyway. You went and did it anyway.
Tuck barred his teeth, but Oli tutted to calm him. He's mine, boy. This'll be quick. Lars never stopped moving. When he closed in on Oli, he threw a wild swing with his offhand, then followed it up with a quick knife strike. Oli backed up to dodge the blows, then lurched forward with his own barrage. There was hardly much in the way of blocking or parrying. Within a handful of moments, both men had cuts all along their forearms, bruises along their eyes and cheeks. Oli stepped aside from a kick, then caught Lars's wrist before the older man's knife could slice into his ribs. Oli shifted his weight, pulled Lars forward, keeping his hands firmly on Lars's knife hand. Lars swung his fist, pounding into the side of Oli's head, but Oli ignored it, jamming his knife into Lars's gut as he pulled him closer. It felt It felt almost intimate, the way they stood, holding one another tight like brothers. Lars's blood running down Oli's fingers. Lars grunted as Oli pushed him away, leaving his knife in the man's stomach. Oli spit blood onto the ground. Oi, what were you saying about my pa? I was saying, Lars paused, staring at the knife handle in his gut, that he's got as much blood on his hands as you. Oli shook his head. I don't know what your problem is with me, Lars. What did you think I had to do with anything? I was a bloody kid. You think I had a choice? I was the only one without a choice. Every other Strayazar chose whether or not they wanted in, except me. Oli screamed down at Lars, who'd fallen to his knees, holding his belly around the knife blade. Blood ran between his fingers. Red lights danced in Oli's vision, swirling around his clenched fist. You should have died too, Lars said, coughing. At least then things would be even. Oli snorted. Oi, is that it then? The son pays for the sins of the father? Didn't my son die? His should too. Oli dropped to a knee beside Lars, leaning forward so they were face to face. You see this? Oli pointed to his eye, the one which was white and black. Oh, I'm paying the price, Lars. You've no idea the price I'm paying. And you? Oli reached forward and ripped the blade from Lars's stomach. Lars coughed and groaned, doubling over onto the ground. You're going to hang around and pay the price with me. A failure of a son and a failure of a father. The white and green threads in Lars's body were broken where the knife had cut through, but Oli had the red threads of power again. He tried with Lars what he had done without thinking with Tuck. He threw the red cords into Lars's mess of tangled life strings. He had little understanding of what was happening, but he watched the red knit themselves into broken sections of white and green. Lars gasped for air and lurched on the ground, and the blood stopped pouring out of his stomach, leaving only an angry red scar. Oli spat on the ground beside Lars. Pack up whatever it is you're bringing and be ready to march. We're leaving this place for good, and you're coming with me. Oli marched off back toward Watchful, letting Lars cough and curse behind him. Oli wasn't sure how, but he knew that Lars would follow. He'd guessed it with Tuck. Ever since Oli healed him, Oli had been able to faintly sense whatever Tuck could. But it was more than that. Oli didn't need the old commands any longer. A deeper connection had formed, one tied to those red threads. And Oli bet that it would work with Lars too. Oh, you're natural, darling. Oli didn't bother to reply to Stardavna. He was stuck with her in his mind, the price that he had paid for his power. But he wouldn't be her puppet. He would use his power to bury every Yelmez and Trevlar, and then he would find a way to kill her too. Afterwards, he would find his sister, and they'd go somewhere, anywhere, and have peace. But he had a war to fight first.